The Kent School District Board meetings are held in public on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month at 7 p.m. at the Administration Center in accordance to the Washington State Open Public Meetings Act. Regular meetings include presentations and reports dealing with district operations, as well as time set aside for public comment. Now, here are your Kent School District Board of Directors. Welcome to tonight's board meeting.
So, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to our board meeting this evening. And we are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked Mr. Doug Ferguson if he would lead us, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you, and again, welcome to our meeting tonight. We're excited. We've got some fun things to do on tonight's agenda. Just as a reminder that tonight's meeting is a meeting of the board held in public to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act, and we do allow opportunity for public comment. If you are interested in doing public comment, underneath the strategic goals are little blue cards. Please feel free to bring them up at any time to the dais. If you wish to speak to an agenda item, please bring it up prior to that agenda item, and so note that that's what you would like to speak to. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. So, Dr. Apostle, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
Well, President Strauss, members of the board, and audience, yes, there are some changes. And so what I would like to share is that notification was sent to you this morning that the inclusive education contract approval was removed from the agenda. For item 4.08 of the consent agenda, the copyright date on the IMC proposal for the state we're in, Washington, was listed as 2004, and the correct date is 2014. Also, the IMC proposal for We the People, the Citizen, and the Constitution, the copyright date was listed as 2007, and the correct date is 2016. The two corrected proposals are on the agenda for the board's review.
Thank you. And Curtis, do we need to make any?
Yeah, it would be appropriate to make a motion to change the agenda. Yeah.
Okay. So at this time, I would like to ask for a motion to accept the changes to tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Right. So we are going to begin tonight with some recognition of our Washington State Achievement Awards. And I understand we will be doing some pictures throughout this at the end.
Yes.
So we do ask everyone who's accepting awards to please stay so we can make sure we get those pictures. And at this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Apostle.
Sure. Well, we have an exciting evening because 13 schools have earned Washington State Achievement Awards this year. The criteria for these awards is taken from the Washington Achievement Index, which is based on the statewide assessment data for the previous 3 years. Schools are recognized as top performers in 6 categories: overall excellence, high progress, reading growth, math growth, and extended graduation rate. By recognizing our most successful schools, the Washington Achievement Award shines a light on the most best practices that determines that our schools are making significant progress. And it is really, truly an achievement by our principals, assistant principals, and our staff members who are doing a fantastic job. I would like to have our SIOs, Millicent Borshade, Brad Brown, and Allison Deno, to come to the podium to introduce the principals, and President Strauss and board members to join me in front of the dais at this time.
Okay.
Let me add that each principal will be presented a banner and offered congratulations and have a photo taken with the board.
Good evening, President Strauss, members of the board, Dr. Apostle, Kathy, and to everyone in the audience. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce our schools that have been recognized by the Washington Achievement Awards. Tonight, we will start with Greg Kroll, Principal Greg Kroll from Martin Sertoon, being recognized for overall excellence, reading growth, and math, the only KSD school to win in three categories. Principal Scott Abernathy from Glen Ridge Elementary, reading growth. Principal Dan Irvine, Grass Lake Elementary School, reading growth. Principal Miles Early from Horizon Elementary School, reading growth. And Principal Tim Hegelson from Sawyer Woods Elementary School for reading growth. And now Allison Dino.
Good evening, President Strauss, Dr. Apostle, members of the board, Ms. Everett. Tonight, I'm pleased to recognize Suzanne Wick of Carriage Crest Elementary for reading growth. And next, Mike McCarthy and the staff at Covington in the area of math growth. And Catherine Geis from Sunrise Elementary in the area of English language acquisition. And now Brad Brown.
Good evening, members of the board, President Strauss, Dr. Apostle. On behalf of the Kent School District, I'd like to recognize representing Kent Mountain View, Principal Stephanie Knipp. And she had high progress. High progress. Next, Principal Unruh, who is not here tonight, but will be accepting the award, would be Assistant Principal Judy Beliveau. And team. And next, representing Meridian Middle School, Principal Jim Shields in English Language Acquisition. Dr. Hong is unable to be with us tonight, so I have the pleasure of introducing the high schools and representing Kent Meridian tonight, Principal Wade Beringer, receiving an award for English language acquisition as well. And next, we have representing the Ridge, Kent Ridge, Principal Mike Albrecht, English language acquisition.
So that concludes all of our Washington Achievement Award winners for tonight. So I think now we're taking a picture with all the principals. Thank you.
So congratulations again. It's always exciting. This is such a great night, and I know there's so much work that goes into this from all the staff, and in the end, it's all about our kids, and we really do appreciate all the efforts that all of our schools are making to help our kids be successful. So thank you for all you do, and we look forward to next year having all of our schools here. So, all right. So at this point, we are going to move on to our Board of Directors discussion and approval. And first on the agenda tonight is 3.01. This is a memorial bench at Jenkins Creek. So I'm asking for a motion to approve the Sandra Russell Memorial Bench at Jenkins Creek Elementary.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion or questions?
How long did Miss Russell work for the district? Anybody know?
Since 1990s. I say, I know that she was there when my kids were there, and so, and she was really a great asset to that school and cared deeply about kids, so it's very.
Well, I was going to ask for a story about her. Sounds like you have one, or maybe someone else has one to share with us.
I just know that she was always really very helpful for the students and always very warm and welcoming when they were going, you know, whether it was the lunch prep or the breakfast, and also is involved in other things outside of just being in the lunchroom. She was also involved in volunteering quite a bit at the school, so.
I think it's really nice and it's a good experience for the kids to see that there's a way to memorialize someone that's not sad, and yet that person hasn't just disappeared. You've got that memory of the person, and you can sit on the bench if you want to be a little bit closer, and I just think that's really special.
Yeah. I don't know if you wanted to say anything. No? Okay. All right. So I will go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Next is 3.02, and these are our WASDA proposals that we spoke about last week, or last board meeting, excuse me. So I'm asking for a motion to approve the WASDA proposals for ELL, Computer Science, and Community Eligibility Provision, CEP multiplier.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion or questions on the proposals? Maya?
Just some comments. I wasn't clear on the computer bill. It said math to science. I'm not sure if there's I'm not on there. So there's a final statement there. It says math to science, and it didn't make much sense. But and then
Where was that?
sorry, I don't have it open yet.
Okay.
Might
Most
just
of
be
the
a
language for
grammatical.
this I used from the existing bill that
Yeah.
passed, but
Yeah.
died in the Senate.
So the final sentence, it says something about changing the emphasis from math to science to an endorsement. It might be correct. We can check on it later.
Okay.
Agda. And then the second thing is on the ELL bill, there is a repetitive paragraphs, page 2 2 to 3 we need to fix. In today's global economy, I think that's paragraph is there twice. And there's a section that says under issues and concern, under ELL, that says only 11% of ELLs. Can we change that to ELL students, please? And I think that's it. So minor issues.
Okay.
And I was going to share some additional information too, if that'd be helpful. And that is that the Tukwila School Board on Tuesday night, last night, or no, I guess, well, anyway, one night this week, they approved the ELL one also. And the Yakima School Board is going to be reviewing it at their meeting Friday for consideration. And then I was also going to say that the multiplier one, that was one that Yakima School Board had asked us to approve, and that the Sunnyside School Board has also approved that one.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, which is really exciting to see the collaboration around the state starting to happen on things, so that'll be really key.
And we'll do our strategy. If these are approved and passed, then I'll be there and I'll working with them to strategize to help to get them passed at the Legislative Assembly.
As one of the CEP one, it's sort of like somebody wasn't thinking about the unintended consequences of streamlining paperwork so that the families don't feel like they're pressured, and now they don't feel like they have to fill it out, and then we don't get the money for the students. So come on, people, think about this.
That's great.
So any other questions or? And are we okay with, there was a few like wording changes to go ahead? Okay. All right, so then what I will do is go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion on the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
May I add one more sort of
Absolutely.
logistics thing? Kathy, I can work with you that Tukwila, I said that we would add their name to the ELL one, and we would submit that with us, with their name on it also, just to make it easier for them.
Okay, great. And I think you've already spoken, so they get submitted to WASDA, then it goes through their legislative committee. Their legislative committee comes back with either a pass or do not pass to be able to take to the WASDA body for actual. If they come back as do not pass, we as a board have the opportunity to A, give more feedback, and B, to say go ahead and put it forward even with a do not pass. And then it is still talked about at the legislative forum. So it's a good process, and Kent has a good reputation of putting forth some really good things. So this will continue in that. So thank you, Agda, for all your work on that. All right, so next is 3.03. So I am asking for a motion to approve the new breakfast and lunch prices for paid school meals for the 2015-16 school year as follows. $2.50 for elementary school, $3 for secondary lunch, $1.75 for secondary breakfast, and $2.20 for adult breakfast, and $3.75 for adult lunch.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion or questions?
I was just going to comment, I thought that was wise to put in a little bit of that increase in there so that we wouldn't hopefully have to increase them again next year. That was great, thinking ahead of more long-term budgeting.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
What,
Russ?
what does Title VI give us? Or is it, I'm sorry, that's my work. What's the title for the free and reduced? Is it 1 or 3? The money that we get from the federal government? Title 1, okay. What do they give us per meal? Do we know? Or is it a global budget per kid? As far as reimbursement? Yeah. Sorry to.
President Strauss, members of the board, Dr. Apostle, Ms. Everett. Right now, we're getting, so you're talking what the federal government reimburses us per meal?
Yes.
Okay. So right now, it's around $3.06 for a free and reduced meal.
Pardon me?
$3.06.
Okay.
And that will be going up again this next year in July.
And Tom, Are you finished, Russ?
I'm still thinking, but go ahead, Bonnie. You can ask why I still think.
How much is reduced lunch?
Reduced lunch is still 40 cents. That has not changed.
Not gonna
Yeah, and
change.
the state
Okay.
still pays the copay for K-12 breakfast and K-3 lunch,
Okay,
and that has not changed.
good. Thank you. Thanks.
So I mean, I guess I'm relieved that we're not cost shifting, that they seem to be paying pretty much their way, right?
That was the whole intent, yeah. When you do an evaluation of what we get federally and average it against our prices, we're still about 9 cents below
Yeah.
the federal rate, but we're at the level that they expect us to be, so.
Could
That was
we,
the whole intent of that law, that legislation in 2010.
I'm still thinking, sorry. Oh, I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. All right, so at this time, I'm going to call for the motion, or the vote on the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. Next is 3.04. This is Resolution 1464.
You're off a number.
Yeah,
Did I skip one?
3.05 is the next one.
I think,
We dropped 302 out.
Oh, okay. On my paperwork, it was already dropped, so that's why.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you got
My paperwork, so
updated
we're doing 3.05 because 3.0, anyway. We're doing the resolution of 1464, authorizing sale of and issuance and delivery of bonds. I'm asking for a motion to approve Resolution 1464 to authorize the sale, issuance, and delivery not to exceed $5 million principal amount of the district's limited general obligation bond series 2015.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion or questions on the motion?
I don't know. Is there a way of summarizing it for public or board and brief or whatever, so that?
Yeah. Layman's term.
Dr. Sedry, layman's terms.
What you are doing is approving the borrowing of money from a bank in the state of Washington at very low interest to buy approximately, because we still haven't figured the number yet, 30 transportation vehicles or buses for the district. And this is what they call non-voted debt. It is allowed by the state. It will be paid back by the depreciation that we receive each year for these new buses. So there is no taxpayer money being involved, and it will not involve taking any basic ed money and paying the loan back.
Thank you.
sounds too good to be true. Oh, but wait, we pay taxes.
It's the second and third time the district has done this. It's been a number of years since the last time we did it. We did it for the same thing. We're doing it now.
Okay.
Can I ask about the natural gas buses right now, before we finalize the vote? Because we got that really well-written email about the concern about the natural gas bus, the noise that was on the natural gas bus, and I know we had people out checking it out.
Sent an email to Dr. Postle, and I can just summarize it. We test drove both vehicles, a new diesel bus and the new CNG bus, and had a decibel meter on the bus so we could tell how many decibels, which has to do with hearing. They're well within range of industry standards. It's 85 decibels or above for 8 hours. We are below that at buses idling. It was the CNG bus was at 65 decibels. Picked up conversation between Mr. Sells and Mr. Dennison. It was idle. It jumped to 71 decibels. At a speed between 35 and 45, we were in between 70 and 75 decibels. And at 55 plus, it was right at 75 decibels. So we're well within standards. There is a concern about cubic feet for storage. We're now looking at the Thomas bus, which has a bigger cargo bin and has a pass-through from one side. It has two doors, one on each side, so you can load things a lot quicker. It's still not going to come back and give us what we have. A regular diesel bus has about 122 cubic feet of storage. However, you have to remember, we're still going to buy some new diesel buses that if we call for transportation and we need storage net, we will put those out. So it's something we believe we can handle, both Mr. Dennison and Mr. Sells. We're also looking at moving away from the Bluebird bus and going with a Thomas-built bus, which is one of the two major major bus manufacturers.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments on the motion? All right, so I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. So moving right along to consent agenda, is there anything that the board would like to pull for tonight's consent agenda for discussion?
I had, I guess, some general questions about some of the, where to put it, adoptions. But I don't necessarily want to pull the various things, so I don't know how to handle that.
So we can, if you want to pull them, yeah, just pull them and then we'll talk about them and then we'll vote on them. So which ones?
Well, let's see.
You could just pull all of them, I guess, the curriculum. Pull all of them.
Pull all of them.
Oh, no.
Question?
Well, and then,
You want to make, is it questions or comments? So we can
It's-
vote on it and then you can talk about it afterwards.
There's questions just about, well, I guess it's about implementation.
Okay. So which,
Some of them didn't include their frameworks, and I'm assuming that they all have frameworks, but some of them didn't have frameworks. Like the Discovering Our Past for 7th grade, second half of, the second part of seventh grade,
so 14, 13? Or we could,
4.06, that was that one.
4.06?
Yeah. Oh, and a lot of them had for the, what do you call the site licenses or subscriptions? It had a price, but I didn't know if that was per school or.
So let's do this, Karen, if you're all right with that. How about
I'm
we
sorry.
pull 4.05 through 4.16, and then
So
we'll-
some general
and
questions.
then we can
just
ask some
do them as
questions
a-
and do it as a group, if that's okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm nodding yes, but did you have another one, Maya?
Well, no, I'm, can we do the same thing as we do with SIP plans, or must we approve and not accept these? I haven't, there's a lot of details, and I'm not an expert at a lot of this. So,
Okay, well, let's do this first. I'm going to do a motion to accept the consent agenda less items 4.05 through 4.16. Okay, so I'll take a motion for that first.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so next, it sounds like there's a couple of questions in regards to 4.06 through 4.16. So we'll start with Karen first.
A lot of them don't have assessments listed, and I don't know if the assessments are built into the text and the program that comes, or if the teachers are going to be, and I know some of them said the teachers will be creating their assessments, and if that's the case, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to encourage them to collaborate, and not everybody has to recreate their own assessment, and it'll be placed on staff links or something so that they can access it. I don't know. Yeah, please, Ann.
President Strauss, members of the board, Dr. Apostle, Ms. Everett. Obviously, there are a lot of different resources here. You approved, in the case of new courses, you had, in a previous board meeting, approved the courses.
Right.
So now it's just the materials, the resources. And so, thank you. So Could you ask your question? I mean, you
A
were
lot of
asking
them-
several questions,
I
so why
know,
don't we
I just-
start with one?
I started taking notes today, and I thought, oh, this is not good. I'm just writing. That some of them on the framework said, the last column says assessments and resources, and a lot of times it had, some of the times it had resources listed, but it didn't have any assessments.
Right.
And I know on the form, sometimes it said the assessments were within the program that came with the text or
Right.
whatever.
It varies. We're sort of undergoing a process of trying to get as much consistency as possible in our not only what is taught, but what is assessed. So different courses are at different points in that procedure. And also, your question about the framework's the same way. None of the coordinators could be here tonight, so, but Amy Abrams is working with a group to build the assessments in some cases, the district level, also the frameworks, finishing the frameworks, because they haven't quite finished some of the social studies frameworks. There's money built in for, a group to be working on that. In some cases, really in probably most of the cases, there are assessments that come with the materials. And so the decision would be, are they going to use that? Or are they going to, in some cases, we'll develop performance tasks that are like smarter balanced. So there's not one single answer to this because it depends on the course.
The idea of everybody having to create their own assessment just drives me crazy. So
I would concur. We are trying to move toward more consistency. The district has not been at that point, so it can't be like an all or nothing because creating assessments takes a lot of time, and so it's a work in progress.
And I do want to say that I was reading through a lot of the essential questions, and I'm pleased to see that those are there, and we're really focused that way, and that's where the assessments are going to go. I mean, basically deciding how it's going to be delivered, but following those essential questions. So let's see. Oh, and for the subscriptions, for the online resources, I don't know, there was a price, but it didn't say if it was for one site or for the whole district or?
It would be for the whole district, and they're of different lengths, the subscriptions.
Yeah.
The licenses. And in all cases, we're buying a classroom set of books, plus a few for kids who need to. But then there are licenses for kids to have at home, and also for the digital resources that go with the materials.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that we've got some of these online things going on because it's so visual. I mean, a lot of it's so visual. And the primary sources, they can
It's very Common Core aligned, C3 aligned for social studies, NGSS aligned for science. So we're really moving forward with
Good. That's good. That's nice to
making
see.
progress.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. So other questions or comments?
So clearly, we see the value of having Karen on the board. Well, and this is just weird. I mean, I really echo Maya's perception that I don't know what on earth I'm passing here. I mean, I've got some ideas. But are we required by state law to approve the curriculum? Or we've said this in policy that this needs to happen? Because it just is a total...
So let's confer with...
I don't believe there's a state law that requires it. It's been a practice of the district to do this. But certainly I can double check and make sure that there's no laws in place, but I don't believe that there are.
I mean, I get the whole thing that we should do this for sex ed and controversial history books that try to strike out or put too much in because we represent the public and it's what it wants to include in the instruction of its children. But, I mean, I don't like doing things just to do them. And this feels very much like that. If Karen wasn't here, I don't know that any of us would have any useful insight at all. So I guess my point is, I think we should really look at our process and find out whether we're required by law to do this. If we truly believe that this is a policy that we should have.
So I think we may already, they've quickly looked up.
I mean, I don't need the
Well,
answers
well-
now and figure it all out. I'm just expressing a concern for future.
Whether it's an approve or an acceptance of the recommendation.
And we made exceptions before with our SIP plans and so.
Yeah.
Know that it did get approved. All of these went through the Instructional Materials Committee with a whole range of educators who listened to the proposals and voted on them.
Yeah,
And these are standard sorts. There's nothing controversial in these.
And I would say that the difference, I think, Maya, with the SIP plans is that's something that's more internal to us and it's not a state thing where it goes through. So for tonight, what I'm hearing, well, let me see if I'm hearing this right. Since it has been practiced and it's on for approval for tonight, to go ahead and approve for tonight with the thing of asking Dr. Apostle to please look to see in future whether the board could accept recommendations as opposed to approving, just because we don't have the expertise. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
guess what I'd really look at is there should be an indicator within the process of these committees and or boards that would kick it up to our level. But just rubber stamping stuff, because it gives a perception, at least for me, yes, I really concur with all of these resources when I haven't read them.
So
I mean,
RJ,
it's just-
Well, I was just going to comment that I take my accountability roles very seriously, just like I know you do yours. And that's why I really value the form that was provided to us, where that committee had marked off and scored. And so that what I wasn't assessing whether or not I thought their answers were right, I was seeing that they did their due diligence and were making a recommendation that they felt was the best. And yes, they did their due diligence. So that was, to me, that was what I'm basing my approval on.
And we're counting on them as experts to be picking the correct, the best materials that are available, and I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah,
Totally.
and for that reason, I would say we're accepting it, and I still don't see how we're approving it. I mean, they've approved it, I guess, and we're accepting their approval. That's how I see it.
I would like to add that it's typical for governing bodies to nominate, appoint individuals to serve on the Instructional Materials Committee who have the expertise that you entrust and have the credibility to make recommendations to the Board of Directors. Of course, this democratic process sometimes hits snags, and there's not always agreement, but it is a democratic process before any recommendations are brought forward to the board. And evidently, it's worked very well in this district, and that the board has entrusted staff to bring forward, to study, and to bring forward recommendations, and areas that will be within the curriculum. And so the board is in control of what will be taught. How it's taught is left to the teachings of our dedicated staff. But I do believe that the work that our staff is doing is the solid kind of work that you would expect a group of professionals to be doing on behalf of the children of the district. And it's obvious, it's worked very well, and you can see how well it's performing by the number of awards that have been earned and recognized by the state of Washington.
and I guess for me, the actual approval of it has been more of the validation of their work that we approve what they've done. So.
Well, I'm just trying to validate it even more by saying, skip the detail. You know what I mean?
I personally still think it's very important that it still appears on consent agenda and gets as part of that, but we can work on the semantics for.
Talk about it later.
Okay, so for right now, we're going to go ahead and, unless there's any further discussion on the items we pulled, I'm going to call for a motion to approve 4.04 through 4.16.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. So we'll do some further work on to that and have that in future. All right. So next, we are going to move to, yeah, I'm checking numbers because mine says 5.03, so, which seems off. Okay. So that looks a little off. Okay, that's fine. So 5.01, which is the general fund object of expenditure report. This is for information only. Are there any questions on this report? Okay. So hearing none, I'll move to 5.02. This is again for information. This is the March 2015 financial statement. No actions required. It's for information only. Okay, everyone all right? Perfect. So we're going to move on to 6.0. So the first is communication from the audience. And I say I don't have any cards, but it looks like I do. So we'll now have communication from the audience. Thank you, Mr. Reed. And so you will be speaking from this mic here, and we'll start with Asad Hussain. And you do have 3 minutes to address the board.
Interim President, Superintendent, Dr. Parcel, Board President Stratus, Board of Members and community members. Good evening. My name is Asad Hassan. I'm a refugee and immigrant activist, and I'm also a parent. Tonight, I'm here to speak about a critical transportation safety issue that are affecting our community located 1403 Maple Line, Kent, Washington, or better known as Park Place Apartment. The Park Place is the host of refugee and immigrant settlement. An apartment, majority residents are newly arrived immigrants who don't speak English, and they don't have alternative means of transportation for their children to Mill Creek Middle School. The fact is that there is no sidewalk from Park Place Apartment to Central Avenue. From Central Avenue to Willis Street, there's a very narrow and unsafe sidewalk. There's a heavy traffic present during the school time, and it's a high risk and unsafe to children to walk to Mill Creek Elementary School. According to the Washington Administration Code, it's the school district's responsibility to provide safe ride to and from school to all children when safety issues in question. Tequila, Renton, and Auburn School District already have a 1 mile walk to school policy requirement. That's the time, and it's the time Kent School District adopts a similar safety policy that protects the safety of our children. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, we need immediate bus transportation for the families in a Park Place Apartment. While this matter is being resolved, we also need to have a district-wide comprehensive transportation review that assures the safety of all our children in Kent. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have Rayleigh.
Good evening, Dr. Russell, school board members. Tonight I'd like to speak to an issue that I had previously seen on tonight's agenda, but for some reason it must have been pulled, and that was the item regarding school health clinics and the concern that the district would consider moving ahead and opening a clinic at one of the high schools without a very comprehensive conversation with the community that would be affected by that clinic, and whether or not that's something that the community wants, needs, what would that look like. So again, it's involving the community in the process. Going back and looking at our strategic plan, the whole transparency issue to me is a huge concern. And so I just want to make sure that if it's something that the district is going to move ahead on, that they do make every effort to reach out to the community, knowing that that community at KM is a very diverse community with many different languages spoken, and that we give all parents an opportunity to weigh in on, whether or not they agree, disagree, what that should look like, and what services would be provided to their children that they may not be aware of, right? I was, as I looked at that, I thought to myself, I wonder, if you're going to do this and not communicate with the community, one of my thoughts was, would you do this with any of the other comprehensive high schools? Just go to the high school and open a clinic and not say not involve the community in a conversation? The community really, it's the community's children that will have access to this. And, as a former parent and my children are out of school now, I wouldn't be really happy with any of my children being able to go to school and access services without my knowledge. Although I know that there are some laws within the state of Washington that allow children, the right to do that. It's not something that schools have traditionally offered. I don't necessarily see it as a bad idea. I just think that the community really, really needs to be engaged in that process. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ray. All right. So I have not received any other cards, so we are going to move to the superintendent's report. Dr.
Sure.
Russell.
As you recall, we had a very productive budget development process with the board of directors on Monday morning from 7 a.m. to 10 o'clock. And there's a need for us to look ahead in competition with all the end-of-school activities that are taking place and the summer plans and so forth. I have proposed 3 meeting dates that President Strauss, I'd like you to, over the next week or so, to poll the board and get back to me with regard to the schedules of our other directors. And I would appreciate getting some feedback on those proposed dates and possibly some alternative dates that might work best for the board members. And then last night, we had a wonderful event honoring our top 5% of our senior students. And not only were they recognized as top academic performers, but some special group received scholarship awards, monetary awards. And pleased to say that Agda's daughter was not only a recipient of a recognition of being in the top 5%, but also was a scholarship award winner. So we had a lot to be proud of, not only for all of our students, but I think that we had a special mom in the crowd last night. So it was a great event.
Great, thank you.
Our principals did a wonderful job.
So before I go to board reports, as part of the NSBA visit, one of the things that was shared with the people visiting for that was how we do our bus transportation, especially for our youngest students. And so there's a video that was actually shown on, I want to say, channel 13? Yes. Okay, good. And so I wanted to share that with everybody so that we could see that.
Well, a local school district using technology to track kids and keep them safe. Officials in Kent trying out a new pilot program to make sure a small child is never lost when they ride the bus. Tom Yazwinski has that story.
It's a scary feeling not knowing where your kids are.
Elizabeth Vasquez remembers being terrified when her oldest daughter got off the school bus at the wrong place.
The first week of kindergarten at a different school, it took an hour for them to find her. So you had a good day today?
This year, Elizabeth has another kindergartner riding the bus, but this time there's a system to give her peace of mind. 10 buses in the Kent School District are testing state-of-the-art tracking equipment. Kids who ride these buses have badges with barcodes attached to their backpacks. Students scan those cards when they get on and off. Every time a card is scanned, the exact location is marked on a map with a timestamp. If a child gets off at the wrong stop, officials know exactly where and when it happened.
There's no silver bullet, but we're trying to use technology in a way that's going to give us one more layer of protection for those children.
Right now, it's just a pilot program, but this system can be a valuable tool in a large-scale emergency. In a crash, officials would know who was on the bus and access contact info for parents.
When there is a problem, a matter of seconds, a matter of minutes can be a matter of lives. So we're using our technology to keep our kids safe.
There you go. Choo-choo.
It's a small change in procedure that could make a world of difference for Elizabeth and other parents.
The fact that, you know, with a scan, a simple card helps you keep an eye on where they are, it feels good. It feels reassuring as a parent.
Tommy Aswinski, Q13, Fox News.
Kent school officials still don't know if they will extend the GPS program, but they are happy with the results so far. The Tacoma School District also uses this system to monitor special needs students who ride the bus in their district.
Well, a stranger is helping an OSO survivor.
So anyway, I thought that was really a great thing, and I didn't know how many of us had had an opportunity to see it, so I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that.
Just a quick comment about that software. It's a Kent resident company that has that software.
Yeah, very cool. So, and then before I turn it over to board reports, I also wanted to recognize, because we have not had a board meeting since our Tech Expo and our site visit. So I did want to, again, publicly say how much I enjoyed the event. I know there was an awful lot of work that went into that from our IT team, and we had stellar attendance, and it was wonderful. And if we could give them a round of applause for all the work. Right, so with that, we'll start with board reports. Karen, do you want to go first?
Oh, sure.
You look like you're ready, so.
I am. The first part is a little bit long because something I'm really excited about. When I was at the NSBA conference, I attended a session on building a community of hope. And when I mentioned that here, Ray Lee came up to me after that meeting, and he said, do you know that there's a Hope Center in Lakewood? And I've been on tours, I've been to schools, and I said, I want to go. So on May 5th, Ray was there also. We went to the Hope Center in Lakewood and just talked with Wally Endicott for a couple hours. And I'm just really excited about it. What it is, instead of calling kids at risk, they're called kids at hope. You put it in a positive. And they're taught to believe that they can succeed, no exceptions, and they have a daily pledge or a mantra that they say as a group. They have a little assembly under their covered play area, this is one of the schools anyway, in the morning, and they all repeat this pledge. It changes the whole culture of the school because the adults are called treasure seekers, and they're expected to look for the gifts in children and to be putting those forward and really thinking about those instead of looking at, no, he can't read, and this is a kid who kicked a hole in the wall last week or whatever. So you're looking at for the gifts. So they also have, I didn't bring them, they're called aces, and they have 4 cards, and there's the ace of spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs, and these are the supports that they can count on. And one of them is the parents or caring adults. Another one is high expectations. I can't remember what the other 2 are right now, but everybody has those, and the kids identify them themselves, and they know that they've got these aces in the hole. They're taught along the way to time travel into the future, to visualize what they want for the 4 components of what they want the 4 components of their future lives to look like, and that is family and home, career and job, hobbies and interests, and their community service. And then they return back to the present, and they set their goals to start reaching that future. What it takes, and this is what Wally said, it takes a strong leader principal with an established leadership team and a willing staff to become a Kids at Hope school. There was a Kids at Hope culture scan done in 2010. Kids identified themselves on being hopeful and engaged, and there were only 53% of the kids who identified themselves as hopeful. Only 54 identified themselves as engaged in school, and only 67 described themselves as thriving. And of the 46 who didn't identify themselves as engaged, 20% of that 46% are actively disengaged and sabotaging the learning experience. So think about that. What Wally said is they've got it down to the fact that it can turn a school culture around in 2 years. And one elementary school in Renton, Campbell Hill, Mary Rieger's district, is committed to becoming a Kids at Hope school. And so this Saturday, from 9 to 12, they're having a Hope Squared gathering of the community and staff, and I'm going to attend, and I'd like to invite anyone, board or staff, who would like to attend also. Also at the WASA conference in Spokane on June 28th through the 30th, the keynote speaker, Shane Lopez, will be addressing the concept of hope, and Wally from the Hope Center will have a Kids at Hope session on the 29th. And if you go, I would really like you to go and listen to him. He's great. And Ray and I were talking about this, and it really seems like this might be the missing link to lift up all kids, not just the kids at Hope, but there are kids who are at all levels of the socioeconomic spectrum who might not have hope. And one of the other things that Wally said is that they surveyed college students. I believe I'm getting this right. They surveyed college students, and the biggest factor for finishing college was not the fact that they'd gotten high scores on their SATs, they'd had great GPAs, anything like that. It was the fact that they had hope, and they could see their future, and they were going for it. So that's one of the things that I'm concerned about, is that we're getting kids to college, but they're not always, a lot of them aren't finishing. One of the things that Wally said was that people are saying, yeah, but this is just something else you're adding to our plates. And Wally said, no, we're not adding it to your plate. It is the plate. It's the basis for everything. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm really hoping that sometime we could have at least one elementary school that would start with that idea of becoming a Kids at Hope school, and maybe grow it from there. So that's that. That's my spiel on that one. I volunteered to judge several sessions of KPA senior oral presentations so far, and I'm going to be at Kent Ridge later this month too. I'm just so impressed with the KPA students that when they start telling their stories, the things that they've had to overcome and the things that they have overcome, and they've gotten themselves back on the path, and they're graduating, and they have a vision of what they want to do and further education. So they have Kleenex in the room, and boy, sometimes it's needed. Also, attended the Founders Day dinner and raffle last Friday night, and I was happy to learn, I think I got this number right, that the total contributions of the evening totaled around $5,000 for scholarships. And our table had a great chocolate cake, and several people present tonight won baskets. Last Saturday night, I attended the final performance of Kent Ridge's spring production, Bring It On, the musical. And again, I'm always so impressed with the level of student talent at all the high schools, but I'm thinking right now at Kent Ridge. Jenny Grajewski just is so incredible, and the parents are dedicated, and her staff that she brings in and works with the kids, and it's amazing what she can get from those kids and what those kids want. And again, there were multiple kids in tears at the final performance. They were just so happy to have been in it and sad that it was over. And then finally, yesterday I was at the signing of the College Bound program, the bill from the Senate with Governor Inslee there, and it was really well attended by legislators, roadmap participants, community members, and our staff. It was really well organized. I was very impressed with it. And there were students who were attending, and they got to speak. Some of them got to speak. And I know that they're going to remember talking to the governor and shaking the governor's hand. That'll be something they remember for the rest of their lives. And I just wanted to say a huge thanks to Cheryl and Yulin for hosting it, and for Randy Nunez, who is our College Bound star. So I'm done.
All right, Agda.
Great. Well, I'll continue on the dramatic arts theme and say I really enjoyed Into the Woods at Kent Lake, and just very elaborate sets, and it was a long performance too, and the students all did excellent. And then Friday, I'm going to be going to see Streetcar Named Desire at KM, and so I'm equally looking forward to that. So I can't just have fun. So I've been studying, continuing on with the UW pre-kindergarten through third grade executive leadership program with a team of staff. And just like the first class, our second class was just fabulous. It was focused on equity, and the caliber of the instructors, national instructors as well as experts from our state was excellent. I could just go on, and but I won't. And the content was around alignment of math curriculum and specific strategies for doing that, and the research telling us that math, even more so than literacy, of early math skills, are a better predictor of school success. So that's an area, if we're not already doing a lot of alignment pre-K through third grade in math, we need to be more focused on. And then as a follow-up to that, I attended our Early Learning Advisory Committee meeting that was Monday, and it was just great to see City of Kent was represented, community partners, the Housing Authority, and a number of our principals, Puget Sound ESD. So it's great to see that participation there in that committee. And I wanted to, if you're not going on Saturday to the Kids of Hope and you didn't have other plans, I was going to encourage you to go to our, the Student Success Workshop for Parents that we've gotten an email this week about, and that's geared for parents of children birth through 8 years of age or third grade. And one of the speakers who's going to be there, I'm really excited. I've heard her speak a number of times from the University of Washington, the iLabs, and the work that they're doing around brain research, and really making it very easily understandable to parents of simple things that they can do with their young children to really help them be more successful when they get to school. So that's at Mill Creek from 10 to 12 on Saturday. And let's see, I think that was it. Yep.
Thank you. Meyer.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so first I'd like to thank Dr. Behringer and his team for sending their Interact kids, club kids, to the food bank facilities. As you know, this past Saturday, we had a lot of food pickups at the post office, and the kids were really great at the last minute to come in and help out. So I just want to thank Dr. Behringer and his kids. And I have also been participating in the Roadmap Community Conversations that's going to take place on the 8th of June. And the public is invited to that. It's really looking at our roadmap results, information. As you know, we don't have information on our academics because of the piloting of SBAC. And so they're looking at more of the emotional social supports and the early warning indicator system information. And it's just going to be a very generalized conversation around how can we assist as a community, how can we assist our schools in our children's academic outcomes. So that's going to take place on the 8th at 6 p.m. at the Senior Center in Kent. And had a chance to attend the KM Multicultural Assembly. If you've never been there, I hope that next year you'll join in. It was just an amazing array of entertainment and cultural delight. And let's see, I had a chance to participate at Holy Spirit. There was a conference on Africa, and again, we don't realize how diverse our community is. I know we see our kids are very diverse, but we very rarely see our families out and about. So when there are these opportunities, I'd say go, because you'll always learn something from the individuals you meet. Was at the equity convening with Dr. Watts at the end of April. And at this convening, there was a student fishbowl, which is really a discussion with our students. And we had a representative from Meridian Middle, our Christine Tang was part of it. And, just hearing from them and how mature they are and how concerned they are about their future and their excitement about the future, yet there's a lot of anxiety. And knowing that they have a support system around them was very powerful way to conduct a meeting. And so Dr. Watts was there and he was able to meet a lot of our community partners as well. And I think that was a good start for him to know, you know, he was sort of the center of attraction, actually. Everybody wanted to meet him, and there was a big line to meet him there. Okay, and then I wanted to also say thank you to Tuan and team for the Tech Expo. There were one of the things that I really noticed, had a chance to talk to a lot of our teachers there. And, you know, I just want to say congratulations to, I know Luann is out at the Washington STEM Fellow celebration. It's just so wonderful that our teachers have that opportunity to be a fellow or an extern, have that familiarity with our STEM, and have that kind of training, because I just talking to Doug's here, and just talking to Doug, you know, they're scraping together materials and equipment, and I don't know how they do it. So I just, you know, the teachers were saying, the tech specialist, you know, whatever you can do as a board member to help us get some training and motivation and encouragement, they would really appreciate that. So I just wanted to pass that on. And then I also had a chance to go see the play, Bring It On, and Jenny Gorski doesn't disappoint, for sure. And also very, very touched by the kids who spoke at the Rotary Scholarship and the signing of the governor's college band bill.
Thank you. Russ?
So really appreciated Tech Expo, had a great time, noticed the improvements of the wider pathways, wider walkways. It felt less claustrophobic, still a huge crowd that didn't feel that way. Attended the Junior Olympics only because my son was in them. But that was, you know, I think 11 schools, extraordinarily well organized. It's run perfect. It was a beautiful sunny weekend day. Had a great time with, and I really did. I'm starting to get a sense that parents are becoming more involved. The stands seem more full, and I don't think there are any more participants. But I just, you know, I look at crowds a lot at events, even movies. I turn around and watch the people watching the movie. It's an odd thing I have, but. I really felt like there was more fathers there and more parental involvement from a very, very diverse community that represented the schools that were there. I had a one-on-one meeting with Dr. Watts, and I really, to be honest with you, I needed to meet with him to help me decide whether or not I was going to run again. I asked him some very difficult, pointed questions that required a yes or no answer. And I got just a really, really great feel from him, and looking forward to the next 4 years. I'm trying to read my handwriting here. I can't read it. Kent Schools Foundation meeting, that continues to build momentum. And I'm excited that we're going to start going out and raising some funds for some meaningful things. We did get a grant application from iGrad. So we're looking at that to replace and or augment additional bus tickets for students to get there. So we're looking at funding that. And I did want to just take a quick moment to say that I did file for being on the board again. And the reason's this, is I really don't like the time it takes away from my family. That to me was the biggest struggle for me, because my boys are very active. They do a lot of stuff. And my wife is very busy in her job. But, you know, I decided to run again. And if there's a really well-qualified candidate of color, I will be very relieved, because I probably will withdraw. But we'll see what happens between now and Friday. Because I really do feel that the community could be better reflected up here. So I'm okay with that. But you know, being a dad is what I do best, and if I have the chance to use those skills of, as some of my board members have seen, ferociously advocating for the resources and for the structure, I think it's a valuable trait to bring to the district and to this board. And I do really like this board a lot. I really do like each and every one of you, and I like the team that we have. And I respect all of you very highly. That I would very much enjoy the professional relationship that we do have. I think we have a unique set of skills, and I like to be part of something special. And I really do believe that with Dr. Watts joining, and thank you, Dr. Apostle, for managing us through this last couple of months. But I really like being part of something special, and I think we're just getting there. So I really look forward, granted, if no other candidate steps up in the next 48 hours, to really be part of creating something special. So I'm excited about it. It's, again, it's odd to not especially love something you feel you're pretty good at. But it really is a struggle for me because, again, the sacrifices personally that are affecting me. But there's enough there that, and it goes to the employees here too, the central administration staff and everybody else, that I really do want to create the best district in the state, and I think we have a lot of the pieces in place. They just need to be all set in motion together or something like that. So that's all.
Thank you. So I just have a couple things. I went to the KAC general membership meeting. I try to attend those on a monthly basis and just give an update from the board, and they always seem appreciative of that. I did, again, want to point out, not only did we have the Tech Expo, we had the NSBA site visit, which I had an opportunity to join just a little bit of that, as well as the Microsoft dinner that I went to that while you were at the Equity. And it was good to go walk around and talk to the folks that had been at the NSBA site visit and see the things that they were excited about and the things that they were taking back to their district. And one of the things that I had encouraged them to do at the beginning was to hopefully share, you know, amongst that this needs to, in education, we oftentimes hold things very dear that we're doing, and one of the things that, like I said, with the legislative thing, I'm excited when we start sharing things, what we do amongst each other. So, and then we also obviously had the Tech Expo and the Microsoft Global Forum, which we were involved in. So I know that that took an extreme amount of effort, and I'm very appreciative of all the effort that went into that and for making that so successful. And I'm not sure the team has recovered yet, if they're still tired, but still working on it, okay. But I do want you to know that we did definitely appreciate that. I also got to go to the foundation meeting, and as Russ said, we're still trying to build momentum on that, so we are definitely looking for board members and people who would like to be a part of that foundation as we start to build that. So if you know of people or you're interested personally, either Russ or I would be more than happy to talk to you and get you in contact with people, because we would really like to have that be a strong foundation that supports our district to be able to allow us to do things that we know that we're restricted of just because of funds. So anything that we can do to support that would be good. Also, the CNA graduation that Russ and I were both at last night. It was very exciting to see those kids and to see that career pathway and how that program is growing and the excitement that was there. And that program is not just during school hours. Those kids come after school. And before school. I think one of the classes started at 5. They had to be up at 5 a.m. to be able to go, to be able to get that. And so now they will be studying madly to hopefully have the same success pass rate on their test that the last cohort had. So very excited to see that as well. And that was everything on that. I just wanted to remind the board that next Wednesday night we have a board workshop that will be the board, and I have someone from WASDA coming in. This will be kind of like a part one of two, working on how do we as a board want to work with our new incoming superintendent and working on, our roles and how we can start doing that. And then I've already had conversations with Dr. Watts for when he gets here to have that second part. So as we build a really strong foundation of how we work together in that board superintendent's governance. So I'm very excited for that. So that will be next Wednesday night at 5:30. So I believe that covers everything for tonight. I know we're getting to that, what I would call that extremely busy time of the year. Not that the rest isn't busy, but it always feels like, at least to me, that by the time we get to this part in May, and as we have graduations coming up, and we've got our seniors who I know are excited. I know that personally because I have one that's got a countdown almost to the hour. And so I know there's a lot of work to do still, and I appreciate everyone's efforts in what they're doing to make sure that our students continue to be successful throughout the year. So thank you very much. Drive safely. We are adjourned.